So, hey, my name is Chris, and this is your beautiful reading for whenever you find it. Hi, Aquarius, by the way. I'm probably doing the Celtic cross today. Feel like Celtic cross, right? Let's just do that. Center of your Celtic cross, the Two of Cups. Making peace with the world, right? That's always a tricky thing to do, especially when the world is a mess right now. You might have noticed. Two of Cups is pretty much this energy where you have to accept what you cannot change, but by all means change what you can change, right? But there are certain truths, there are certain constellations in this world that we just have to accept. We don't need to embrace, but we just have to deal with reality on reality terms, right? That's the Two of Cups for me. Ten of Pentacles. If we have to deal with the Ten of Pentacles, right, then that's okay. Ten of Pentacles in connection with the Two of Cups is kind of almost like a reward of you accepting a few things. You wanted to know about it, there it is, right? You learned something, now you have to deal with it. And there is peace in this, right? The Two of Cups is pretty much a peace between two opposing polarities, right? Male and female, water, fire, you know, but they're joining together under a higher principle. That's kind of it's pretty much the demiurge, but you can use it or understand it as a higher principle, not necessarily just the demiurge, but you know, there are things you can't change. There's polarity in this world. There's light, there's shadow. You might not like the shadow, but the shadow is there, that's for sure, and you're not going to change that. So there's darkness, there's light in this world. There's destruction, there's death, there's life, there's rebirth. So you just have to accept that and be the grown-up in the room. The universe is giving you something for it. Ten of Pentacles, that's for sure. That's wealth, abundance, and prosperity. That's you immersing yourself in what it is that you have learned, your wisdom, making something out of it. Your ships are coming in. Three of Wands, that's the foundation here. The good old Queen of Cups, right? In the times where you finally accept things as they are on reality's terms, you have to work with your emotions, right? So you still are who you are, you still feel what you feel, you still don't like certain things in this world, but you can fight, quote unquote, right? Without breaking the peace. This is a peace, you know. You might think the light and the darkness made a peace. Water and fire made a peace, right? Opposing opposites joining together in a unity of that difference, if that makes any sense to you, right? So think about the yin-yang symbol. There's a little bit of black, a little bit of darkness in the light side of the yin-yang symbol, right? And there's a little bit of light in the dark side. That's how it is, right? And these forces are kind of antagonistic to each other, yet they build a unified system in which both of these aspects are essential. And that is kind of counterintuitive and not exactly easy to understand. You know, life implies death, but death implies life as well. So you can't live as a human being without death, and you can't die without being reborn in one way or another, whether you're incarnating, reincarnating in this matrix, or you're incarnating in a higher state of consciousness that is not necessarily bound to the physical, but it goes on, right? It's the upward spiral, it goes on. There is the upward spiral here depicted, by the way, in the Two of Cups. So you're making peace with that. You're no longer fighting windmills. You're no longer fighting windmills, but you're still honoring whatever side that you have chosen. And this is, of course, for the empathic people of the light side. And, you know, you're an agent of the light. You're an agent of transcendence and integration, not primarily negation and differentiation, but transcendence and integration. that's your thing, that's our thing here on this channel, right? But there's the other side. And to just do your job, what you came here in this incarnation to do, is to help, right? Is to be a light. But, you know, angels and demons, light and shadow, coexist peacefully with each other on that higher realm of understanding. And to accept that and to truly understand that needs a lot of self-discipline emotionally. Queen of Cups energy, right? You just have to allow people to make their own decisions. You might be the angel on their shoulder, but there's a devil on the other side as well. And every human being has to make his own choice, right? And you can't change that. So that needs a lot of discipline, groundedness, resting within yourself. Not everything, that's the Five of Cups. The Five of Cups is past energy. So you making peace with something and you learned it the hard way. That's the reminder of the Five of Cups here. You learned it the hard way. But instead of looking back to what went wrong, there's a kind of forgiveness part here. I don't like the concept of forgiveness. Tarot cards, of course, are kind of coming from the Judeo-Christian tradition, but I'm a Buddhist, so I'm totally on karma, right? So Buddhism doesn't really need the idea of forgiveness, right? Something you do for yourself. That's something you do internally. That's something the Queen of Cups is concerned with. Tidying up your inner frequencies. And tidying up your inner frequencies is part of the healing process. You might be, there might still be a wound within yourself, right? You had to learn that lesson of duality, of transcending dualities, that there's light and shadow, that there's life and death, that there's always this duality, right? But this duality can be transcended and integrated. And it's never going to be perfect, right? It's always going to be a long and broken hallelujah, okay? So what does that mean? That means things break and things get joined together back again, right? Accepting that was quite a journey, obviously, Five of Cups energy. And you're dealing with this is a healing energy. And the reminder here is not to look back in anger. What's left is enough, that's what I'm hearing. Concentrate on what you got, concentrate on what you've learned, and try to make the best out of it. There's the Hanged Man. Hanged Man energy. Then there's the Eight of Cups. That's your enlightenment, by the way. And you came about your enlightenment by hanging in there. By learning things. Seven of Swords. Okay, let's just do one more. Let's just do three more for these Five of Cups, Hanged Man, and Seven of Swords here. So you have to move on. That's the big task here. As I said, you don't need forgiveness for this. Forgiveness is something that you do internally for yourself. If you're more on the Buddhistic side, then you're on the side of karma. So you don't need to take care of karma. You don't need to concern yourself with making it even. So no, don't go for revenge. Don't go for, by all means, go for justice. Yeah, go for justice, but do not go for revenge. So you're moving on from that Five of Cups energy with the Page of Wands. In the past, there's just nothing for you. You turn around, take the two cups that are still standing, even if three cups fell down, and you make something out of that. Devil and the Hanged Man and the Magician. So this is heavy energy because Hangman, Devil, and Magician kind of tells me that you had to go through some sort of disappointment, hard time, maybe the dark night of the soul, something like that. There's past trauma here, but there's also the ending of past trauma and moving on forward by having learned something, right? Maybe you were allowing people to treat you bad. Maybe you were giving them the benefit of the doubt way too often. So that needed to be disappointed, that needed to be broken, that pattern. So you had to learn to stand up for yourself, to have healthy boundaries, Queen of Cups energy, right? And accepting that and moving on from that, you got the Page of Pentacles to the Knight of Pentacles. There's joy in this, right? In just accepting the lesson, you have learned the lesson, Hangman and the Devil, to the Magician, so you're making something out of it. There's the Star card with the Four of Swords. Whenever you're falling back into resentment, into pain, into past energy, into wasting your moment, your present moment, by lowering your frequency, whether it's guilt, fear, shame, whether it's hatred, even rage, anger, lust for revenge, remind yourself to come back to yourself. You can do breath work. That's what I'm always saying. 1 in, 2 out. Meditation. This is bringing you into a higher frequency of understanding, of discernment, of transcendence and integration, where you realize, yeah, there is a shadow. I'm not working on the shadow side, but I have to accept that the fact that there is a shadow. And to make peace with that there's always a shadow. Every light casts a shadow. And you had to go through your own darkness here to arrive into your light, overcome your light, transcend and integrate your light. There's the Sun card. You coming out of this, there's betrayal, there is traumatization, there's a hard time you're coming from. But it's ending, it's over. You transform that from the Hangman to the Devil to the Magician, true discernment, true self-care, self-love, discipline, healthy boundaries, and finally moving on from traumatic experiences, finally no longer taking the bait of any narcissists, communicating your truth, right? Communicating your boundaries, and if somebody is overstepping these boundaries, there need to be negative consequences. You don't need to be quick with it, but be consequent and just disciplined with it, right? If someone oversteps your boundaries, it's not enough to just tell them your boundaries. There needs to be discomfort. You have to create discomfort if somebody oversteps your boundaries. And this is something I think you're learning right now. Let's not forget there's the Ten of Pentacles here. So you're getting something out of it. But now all that you've learned, you have to put into practice. And it's a constant thing, right? But there's the Sun card. You're coming out of your shell. You're overcoming this betrayal. And you're no longer taking the bait of the narcissist. You're no longer taking anybody's BS, right? You're not arguing. You are not arguing with any fools, right? Do not argue with a fool. Just state your thing, and there needs to be a consequence if someone oversteps your boundaries. I say this again and again. Obviously, there's something someone needs to hear out there. Sometimes you just have to be done, not mad, not upset, just done, right? And to have learned to be done, you have to practice that, right? You have to just not make the same mistake twice or 3 times or however often you had to make this mistake. But you're not making it anymore. There's the Star card, as I said, right? If you went through some sort of narcissistic abuse, if you went through some sort of trauma, hardship, dark night of the soul energy, right? That's okay. You learn something out of it. take that lesson and implement it into your life, coming from a place of self-love, self-respect, healthy boundaries, and not just communicating healthy boundaries. I say this again and again because it's so freaking important. You create discomfort if someone oversteps your boundaries. We're not enlightened. Buddhas are no other than ordinary beings. When there is enlightenment, ordinary beings at once turn into Buddhas. So you're turning into a Buddha, I would say. You're turning into a Buddha by freaking accepting that there is darkness in this world. But you cannot save the world, right? You can only do what is right and necessary for yourself and accept the world that there are 8 billion people out there and they all make their own decisions. And whatever they decide to do, you cannot change that. You just have to accept that. Which is a hard thing to do, right? Especially if they are loved ones, right? That you think are going into the wrong direction. You just have to accept that. You cannot change other people. You can only change yourself, and you can accept whatever is, because what is, que sera, right? You just accept that, and the most important thing is that you learn something out of it, right? Whatever you went through, dark night of the soul, you were dealing with the devil, you were hanging in there, but you had some sort of enlightenment and you came to empowerment with the magician here. You're no longer taking the bait of the narcissist. You're no longer allowing people to treat you bad. You're not arguing with fools. You're setting negative consequences. You're creating discomfort if somebody oversteps your boundaries. And that brings you into the sun. There's the sun card, there's the star card. This is a positive reading. But it is also a reading that shows you how much you have changed. And that it's pretty much, when you learn something, you're not just applying it the day when you learned it. You have to apply it every freaking day of your life, right? You're not learning how to drive and then you're done with it. You have to drive, right? Right? So you have to apply whatever it is that you have learned and constantly apply it, right? It's a reoccurring lesson, but you learned the lesson, so you know how to behave, so don't make the same mistake again and again. I'm not seeing you doing that. I'm seeing you with the magician in your power, in your healthy discipline, breath work, 1 in, 2 out, 5 seconds in, 10 seconds out, 10 seconds in, 20 seconds out, whatever you can do, let it out, right? Whenever you're tapping into this lower frequency of guilt, fear, shame, maybe not even guilt, fear, shame, maybe it's rage, maybe it's anger, maybe it's lust for revenge, maybe you're just freaking angry because you look into the world and you think, oh, fucking hell, what are they doing, right? Is the darkness winning? Sometimes it looks like that. But no, it's not. Why? Because you are cultivating your own light, and that's a daily practice. You have to cultivate your light, and you're not depending on what other people do. You are responsible for your inner light, and you're cultivating that, because this is the channel for the people who chose the light. 14. There's the 10 of Pentacles, by the way. 10 of Pentacles, wealth, abundance, and prosperity. 10 of Pentacles also you accepting the world as it is, you accepting that there are antagonistic tendencies, narcissistic assholes. That's just how it is. Don't take their bait. Don't allow them to have a say in your life, right? You need a lot of discipline of the mind and the heart for this. And obviously, maybe someone's testing you, so you learned the lesson, apply the lesson. You got this totally in your power. Magician, sun card, star card. As I said, through meditation, through breathwork, you bring yourself in a higher frequency. Remind yourself, right? We're not fighting the darkness in the sense that we are coming down to their level, right? We're not fighting the pigs in the mud. We're rising above it. And by rising above it, right, we're upholding our standards and bringing them into the world, applying them into the world. We're not going down to their level. We're not jumping into the mud with the pigs, because that's where they want us to be, in the mud with them. But we're not pigs. We're not jumping, we're not fighting the pigs in the mud. That's the only way they can get us, if we come down to their level. They can't come up to our level, right? Darkness doesn't do that. But that doesn't mean that we have to come down to them, right? So we uphold our light, and that is the reminder reading here to do exactly that. Number 14, Blue Angel Oracle deck. Fertility, you got something here going, you're working on something. It's not just practicing what you've learned, that's one aspect here, but you're creating something. And again, don't fight the old, create the new. Focus on what you can create in the consciousness of love, of transcendence and integration. Fertility, fruitful harvest. You have entered a fertile period through which you will give birth to something beautiful. This card signifies a physical or spiritual birth, or both. Whatever you now focus on, you create and give birth to. You have tended and nourished the field. The earth is fertile, and you will reap a great harvest from what is sown. This is a time of prosperity and creativity, a time to thank Mother Earth for her many blessings. It is a time to reflect on life's cycles and the inherent wisdom of death and rebirth. Hello. That's the Two of Cups as well, death and rebirth. A time to honor the ancestors, thank the past, and embrace your golden future. You pretty much look at that card, you're turning around. You're leaving these 3 spilled cups behind. You're turning around, take your 2 cups here in the center, and you go over that bridge into that little castle and have a happy home and be totally happy and take care of what you want to create, because fertility, it's all said, right? You're giving birth to what you focus your energy on, and you want to create something. You want to create your 10 of Pentacles, and you are doing that. A time to honor the ancestors, thank the past, embrace your golden future. It's a time to honor your sacred earth. As the moon fills the night with silver light, so she, the earth, fills your dreams with light. Feel her in your heart, loving and supporting you. All is through her loving nature. So, yeah. Fertility. If you jump into the mud with the pigs are very happy because they can't jump, they can't rise to your frequency. But if they bring you down through guilt, fear, shame, rage, anger, lust for revenge, lower frequency energies, then you're in the mud with them. Do not do that. You can fight for justice without going down and fight the pigs in the mud. You can be an example for integrity. You can be an example for justice, you can be an example for truthfulness, and be all that while you create what is important for you, while you're just embodying and living what is important for you. Do not jump down in the mud with the pigs, no matter how much they try to provoke you, trick you into guilt, fear, shame, things like that. It's always the trick, right? Guilt, fear, shame. That's always the trick. Who do you think you are? Oh, you did this and that, blah, 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 right? Aren't you afraid? Aren't you scaring someone, right? You know how this works. Don't take the bait. Healthy boundaries, upholding your principles, integrity. You're not going down there. You cultivating and raising your frequency through meditation, through breathwork. True Queen of Cups energy, just releasing what no longer serves you. They're just things that you cannot change. There are people you cannot change. Do not try to change them. By all means, communicate your boundaries and enforce your boundaries by creating discomfort if someone oversteps them. Be spirit, totally in alignment with fertility. Something is coming out of it. Sweet results await. That's number 7. Beautiful. Sweet results await. Bee Spirit. The Bee Spirit message is that sweet rewards are on their way if you are willing to get your ego out of the way and immerse yourself in the connected energy of all things. Light and shadow, you can't change that. That's just how it is, right? But the agent of the light, or the warrior of the light, is not fighting the darkness. The ancient, or the angel, the agent of the light, the warrior of the light, is upholding and multiplying light and letting her own light shine in the world, not fighting the darkness, which is futile anyway. Every light casts a shadow. The light can't fight the shadow. That's nonsensical. Knowing that, accepting that, is the Two of Cups, and acting accordingly in mindfulness, in your power, in upholding your higher frequency. That's the practice. It's a practice. It's a daily practice. Shove your ego out of the way. Immerse yourself in the connected energy of all things. Bee Spirit knows not to let a sense of being a separate self get in the way of a good thing. Spirit is always producing honey. Miracles and magic are everywhere. You're the magician here, by the way. When you connect with the great hive, you are vibrating and buzzing in exquisite harmony with all. Bee Spirit asks you that you focus be on connectivity. Your body, heart, soul, and psyche experience total interconnectedness and a true integration when you feel self-forgot. When you remember that you are part of a greater unified consciousness. And that greater unified consciousness includes the darkness, whether we like that or not, but that's just how it is. Tattvam Asi, and that too. Moving from separation into connection, from self-centered limitation to spirit-centered infinite possibility and potential. You become busy as a bee, enjoying the gift of Bee Spirit, fully in alignment with your highest expression of yourself. Your heart opens and creativity rushes through you, seemingly without effort, as you experience that nothing feels like work. Industriousness is driven by enthusiasm and inner motivation, and time seems to fly by quickly. As the hive supports you, Spirit supports you in the making of honey, whatever you are giving birth to. Fertility, 10 of Pentacles, you're doing something that is so much better than looking back into the past, into traumatization, into what is wrong in the world. Do not look at the shadow, look at the sun, face the sun, then all the shadows fall behind you, and they will always be there. You cannot fight the shadow. And accepting that and deliberately making it a practice to look into the light, onto your projects, giving them loving attention, that is the practice, right? Do you feel the presence of your helpers in the hidden realms, adding their energy to your creation? Magical results are taking form and will be sweeter than you expect. Bee Spirit wants you to remember that your part in the divine partnership with the unconscious or the conscious universe is being rewarded, even if you can't see that yet. And ask that you share your good fortune, as there's plenty of honey for all. Be part of the larger whole, the force that brings forth all that is sweet and delightful. These texts are just fantastic, and I'm learning new words every day, every time I read them. You're giving birth to something beautiful. Bee Spirit is on your side. Sweet results await, right? The universe is on your side. You're co-creating with Spirit, with universe. 10 of Pentacles. You're immersing yourself in your creation. It's happening, right? And again, do not allow anybody, any energy to bait you into a lower frequency. If there's some narcissistic, toxic person that you have to deal with it professional without lowering your standards. Don't get mad, don't get angry, never argue with a fool, right? And sometimes you just have to be done, not mad, not upset, just done, right? And you can be internally done and still uphold principles and enforce boundaries by creating some sort of discomfort. If that's necessary in dealing with toxic people, they will always be there. You just learned how to deal with that through the dark night of the soul, probably in the last few years. Most likely in the last few years, right? Now you apply it, and that's one aspect, dealing with toxic people, why you learned the lesson, so apply the lesson by all means. And then there's something sweet here that you're giving birth to, some project, some hobby, something that you just immerse yourself in, and that is so much sweeter and more fertile and worthwhile than fighting the pigs in the mud. That's all I got, and I hope it's resonating with you. And if it does, share, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think about it, and hopefully see you next time. Now, Bedaya, ciao.